Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Hoops with Noops. Of course, I am Alex Noops Christensen, brought to you by the fine folks at FTN. So many great things, lots of great content, access to the FTN Bets Discord where there's constant chatter, picks flying everywhere in sports ranging as far as women's college basketball, lots of tennis going on in there. Of course, all the major sports as well. And each FTN site offers tons of great tools, a lot of great data to help you in your fantasy, in your betting, and anything that you're doing that's related to sports. So, really appreciate them bringing me on and having me here again twice a week in video form, Monday and Friday. And then I write Hoops with Noops Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Of course, if you haven't signed up for FTN, take a look at the banner down below. A discount code there, give you a 10% discount. And again, always check the FTN account on Twitter at FTN Fantasy. There are often specials going on. You might be able to do even a little bit better for all those great tools and content. And again, appreciate you watching. Hopefully you're subscribed to this channel. And let's talk a little basketball because it is a big Friday slate here in the NBA. We've got 8 games, and such is life for an NBA handicapper in January. Just question marks all over the place. Non-conference matchups where every win is important, but when you get to those tiebreakers at the end of the year for seeding and things like that, your non-conference wins really are less important. So these might be spots where teams are looking ahead maybe to another matchup, might be resting players, things like that. They can be tough to handicap. We also have schedule concerns, rest concerns, and as always, we're not 100% sure who's actually playing until really we get to the start of these games. So a lot of landmines for us to avoid, but at the same time, those same landmines exist for the sports books who are distracted. There's NFL football, college sports, NHL, and tons of other things that they have to work on to hang lines for. Well, if we can focus on just one particular thing, get good at maneuvering, we have a chance to find value in kind of all this variance here. So we've got 8 games to get to. I do have a bet, but a lot of it's going to be kind of planning for later. Again, really important that you're in that FTN Bets Discord. You get all my bets as soon as I make them, and all the additions and things that I make before games. A lot of my prop bets make it into there. It's hard to get those into these segments, but let's get to our bet today. I really like this spot. We'll get started talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They visit the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 6-point underdogs, and that's who I'm betting in this spot. Saw these two teams play on Wednesday, and you saw a much different Milwaukee Bucks team. Adrian Griffin gone. Basically one of the few coaches ever to be fired and during the middle of the season for a successful team. The last time anything like this happened, the Cleveland Cavaliers fired David Blatt, who led a Cleveland team to a 30-10, I believe, start to the season before he was fired. Again, the locker room really unhappy, but a much different team. They had brought in LeBron James again that summer, a couple other players. It was a much different situation than Blatt had been in the previous season. This Milwaukee team, just a really odd offseason decision. You trade for Damian Lillard, really go all in kind of on this team, and you fire a coach in Mike Budenholzer who's had a lot of success, but I understand kind of the hangups there. Not a great in-game coach, not someone that knows how to use timeouts as well as he can, does not draw up a lot of great adjustments at halftime or plays in game. So you're looking for someone a little more dynamic because that's what's important when you get into the postseason, being able to adjust to those sort of things. They bring in a first-time head coach, Adrian Griffin, who's only ever been an assistant, just a really odd choice, someone who it seemed like the team and players really didn't even support at first. They bring in Terry Stotts, who gets fired during the preseason, and it turns out the now head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, Glenn Rivers, who signed a couple days ago, had been consulting with the team. So, there was a team meeting at one point. The Bucks asked Griffin to change the defense, didn't like the style they were playing. There was a moment early in the season where Griffin pulls Giannis out of the game. Giannis never goes back to the bench. He just sits at the scorer's table and effectively puts himself back into this game. So, teams in that situation, when they get a new coach, respond positively. You generally see a little better effort from them, more energy. And really that's what we saw the other night when you start to break down that box score. Shooting was very close. And the big difference is Milwaukee basically wins the game by shooting 13 more free throws than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, a lot more points. And then winning the possession battle. The possession battle, of course, being the difference in offensive rebounds and turnovers. If you turn the ball over less, if you get more offensive rebounds, you have more possessions, more opportunities to score. It's very rare that the Cavaliers lose the possession battle. They're a good rebounding team, both offensively and defensively, keeping teams from getting offensive rebounds themselves, and are generally very careful with the ball. Now, maybe it's a change in scheme for Milwaukee. It didn't look to me like they were attacking the boards any more often. Again, just kind of a result of that extra effort. Now, the free throw disparity is a problem. Cleveland is one of the worst teams in the league in terms of attempting free throws. Milwaukee is one of the best, but that difference of 13 is just a little too far. You start to look at their averages, it should be much, much closer. And if they can shrink the margin there on that free throw disparity, win the possession battle again, I expect the Cavaliers to be really competitive. That was only a 10-point win by Milwaukee. It felt like it was much more, but Cleveland played a really good game. And I make this really only a 2-3 point game here. It's basically the same line that they had on Wednesday. That closed 6.5. We're looking at 6 right now. 6 minus 115, 5.5. If you can get that minus 105, less than standard juice is fine. I just like the 6. I think the value, that 10 cents there, that's a decent half point actually to play at this minus 115 instead of the 5.5 minus 110 you might see a couple places. So again, like the matchup here, Cleveland has done well. They've covered twice already against the Bucks this season, and I think they can do it a third time here. I think the market telling us a lot by not really adjusting the line at all after that win by the Milwaukee Bucks, who might not come out with the same fire, given that there's no real changes and it's kind of back to reality. Glenn Rivers not coaching tonight, might coach their next game. So it's Joe Prunty tonight. Again, really like this matchup. Donovan Mitchell should be able to score whenever he wants. Jared Allen does a nice job in the center, cleaning things up here. So I like Cleveland tonight. Again, make this game 3. So I'll take the Cavaliers plus 6. There are 7 other games tonight, and I'm sorry, it's really tough for me to bet a lot of these. Let's take a look, though, and I'll try to give you guys a little bit of the lay of the land. And again, maybe some leans and stuff. And of course, anything I add later will be in the FTN Bets Discord. We'll start with the Dallas Mavericks. They visit the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks 2.5-point underdogs. Just a lot of questions in this game about who's going to play, who's not going to play. Trae Young's been out for a couple games. He's listed as questionable. Think he might play. Clint Capella listed as questionable. Think he might not. Kyrie Irving listed as questionable. This is a 1-game road trip for Dallas, so not really sure what Kyrie's going to do. It's just hard to make a number with all those guys out. If everyone is out, all those 3 guys I listed as questionable can't play, it does seem like a decent spot for Dallas. But again, non-conference game, a 1-game road trip, hard to know what their motivation level's like. I just can't really wrap my hands around this game, so I'll have to let it go. The Phoenix Suns, playing much better basketball, scoring very efficiently, but playing at a slow pace. The Indiana Pacers, up until last night's really 48-minute butt whooping to the 76ers, had been a slow team, struggled on offense. Last night, their pace almost up to 110 possessions in the 48 minutes last night. That is a huge increase, an extra 8-9 possessions over what we've seen from the last 10 games. 3-pointers were flying. It looked like the Pacers again, and even without Tyrese Halliburton. They play again tonight. They host this Phoenix team where, when I look at the matchup, everything tells me there should be a lot of points here, but I think the efficiency will be there. I worry about the pace. Is Indiana going to push again like they did last night? Is Phoenix going to let them? They have the ball handlers and the style of play to slow down Indiana if they want to. So I think this will be a game where we see a lot of made shots, but I'm not sure that we get the 90, 95 field goal attempts we're really going to need to get this number over its total of 245. It's just a tough game. I'm sorry, 243.5. It's just a tough game for me to figure out. And 2 teams kind of really in a moment of change. I mean, Phoenix, I think I have a good understanding of. Again, highly efficient, but slow, not really great on defense. Whereas Indiana, I thought I had a good rap on them. We bet against Indiana last night. Obviously, that didn't work out. So going to continue to wait and see on the Pacers for a little while. It's just hard for me to bet their games. The Houston Rockets, really a much different team than we saw at the beginning of the year, loses their last game at home. They let the Portland Trailblazers score 130-plus points. That game did go into overtime, but Portland was in the high 120s even at the end of the fourth quarter. Just really hard to trust this Rockets team now that they're back on the road. They're going to play a Charlotte Hornets team that just traded away their best player, and really your option is to take a Rockets team that just lost to the Trailblazers at home, or take only 5.5 points with the Hornets with no Terry Rozier and just a beat-up team. I'm happy. Let's just keep going. That game's a mess. Los Angeles Clippers go to Toronto to start a 7-game road trip playing Eastern Conference opponents. Will be an interesting week for the Clippers. I think we'll probably be going against them a little bit. It's just a tough road trip for them. Again, they start in Toronto as 8-point favorites. This would be a great spot to back Toronto, but they're missing Emmanuel quickly. And without him, there just is not enough talent on this team for me to trust them. The Clippers can play less than their best game and really cover this number. That's how tough it can be for Toronto. But again, hard to know what to expect from the Clippers on an effort level. They don't need their best basketball. They could come out, bring a 15-point lead into the fourth quarter and salt it away, still win by 7 and be very happy. So everything came out pretty close to my numbers. I did want to play Toronto, but can't do it without quickly. So I'm going to have to pass on that game. A matchup that'll be really fun. The Oklahoma City Thunder visit the New Orleans Pelicans. This number's been moving towards the Thunder all day. Turns out Zion Williamson is questionable, probably out tonight. Usually when someone pops up on the injury report in the afternoon as questionable, that means they're going to be missing tonight. If he's out, I make the Thunder, 3-point favorites, which is an edge on the 1.5 that we see now. Just not big enough for me to attack. This Thunder team has been good on the road, but not as good as they've been at home. New Orleans beat them in Oklahoma City the first time they played and have the size to sort of push around a Thunder team that is young and athletic, but still a little small. So the matchup, again, would be much better for New Orleans with Zion, but it looks like he's probably out tonight. At the very least, I'm going to wait and see what happens there. The Orlando Magic go to visit the Memphis Grizzlies, and they are 6-point underdogs. I've been thinking about betting Orlando all day, but again, kind of a funky position for them. It's a quick road game before having to go back home and play again on Sunday. I make this game Orlando -8. Again, it's 6 right now, so an edge, but I generally look for closer to 2.5, 3 points. So it's kind of right on the line, and I just have some questions about Orlando. And Memphis continues to surprise. The market rating on them has not moved despite the fact that they are covering games without Ja Morant and without Desmond Bane. It's really a team without much talent, but they're finding a way to play basketball. Maybe not winning basketball, but keeping these games close so they can stay inside the number. Just a tough game. I'll pass on that. The Portland Trailblazers playing great basketball the last week. Go to San Antonio to play a Spurs team on the first night of a back-to-back. The Spurs are 3.5-point favorites. The total is 229. Looks like Wembanyama is going to play tonight, and Trey Jones is not. If Trey Jones can play, I might find myself betting the Spurs in the first quarter, something like that. It just makes a big difference. He's the only real point guard on this team. At the same time, I'm a little hesitant to fade a Trailblazers team that I have sort of projected in the last couple games. So I'm going to let this one go. But of course, as always, if I do bet the Spurs first quarter when Trey Jones is announced in, I'll put that in the FTN Bets Discord. So be sure that you're in there taking a look. Again, to not get only that pick, but all my other picks as soon as they come out. I'm sure I'll have some player props later tonight, as well as all the picks from a lot of other great handicappers and some great discussion, a lot of good things going on, a lot of good contributions from other FTN members. So make sure you get in there. Again, really appreciate you watching. Thanks again. Our bet we've got for the show, the Cleveland Cavaliers +6. Again, +5.5, -105 is okay. But if you got +6, -115, I think that's a better bet. Go ahead and grab that tonight. I expect the Cavaliers to keep it close against the Milwaukee Bucks. Thanks again for watching. Would appreciate a like. Again, make sure you subscribe to this channel and put a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these games more specifically, or any suggestions about what you'd like to hear in the next edition of Hoops with Noops, which you'll find on Monday. So have a great weekend. Best of luck. I will see you on Monday.